Hello, Bishop Gretchen.
Hello, Papa John.
It's so good to be with you. We're coming live from Camp Cross with you at your home, and we would like to have a short question and answer with you about camp.
Absolutely. Happy to talk camp anytime, any day.
That's great. And
Yeah.
it's so good. We so appreciate, I want to start by saying this whole camp community so appreciates you and your support and your many years of time and experience here. And we thought it would be really fun to just have a quick question and answer with you for everybody who's tuning in various ways to Camp Cross this summer. So thank you.
Sure. Sounds great. Happy to do it.
Our first question is, tell us your own story about camp or a special time or moment you remember about camp.
Yeah. So special times or moments are way too many to list. It's because I grew up going to camp and every summer I was at camp, and then I was at camp as a counselor, and then I was at camp on summer staff. And then I was gone for quite a while. I was gone for 24 years. And that was painful to be gone from camp during that time. But when I came back to the diocese as a priest, started serving as a priest at camp again, and now I'm blessed to be there as a bishop. So in many ways, I think camp has been just part of the story of my life, other than the time I was not living anywhere close. I was living on the East Coast or overseas. And even then, camp was part of the story of my life because I heard from my nieces and my nephew growing, they're going to camp as they grew up and went through. So it's just been so much part of who I am and what I've done. And I remember sitting on the beach and for the first time ever saying to the priest that was serving at Camp Cross when I was still in high school, I think I'm called to be ordained. I'm having that conversation. So it's just been always there.
Well, that's great. Let me ask you, when you come out to camp, one of the great times we have with the bishop at camp is a question and answer time with campers. And
yes,
I always look forward to it.
Stump the bishop.
Yes, I always look forward to that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
We never quite know what questions or answers we're going to get. And right. So tell us about a time, if you remember one or more than one, that a question and answer time where you remember a question or an answer you gave, and share that with us.
Sure. So thinking about this, what I love about that is that just as I grew up at camp in this time frame of question and answer, I can watch the kids grow up as well. So for instance, if you go to mini camp, the question you're overwhelmingly going to hear is, when's lunch? What's for snacks? It's all about food, right? They all want to know about what are they going to eat next. And that's their young kids running around. As you get a little older, you start hearing things such as, how far is it to the moon? So a little more curious, or even something like, why do we do this in church? And as we get to even older, and especially the senior high kids, what you really start to see is a real depth of the theological questioning. Why is it that evil exists if God is good? Why is it the church said sex is bad? And I would say, church didn't say sex is bad. At times, the church has said sex is bad, but let's go into the nuance of that. And then, of course, that's when I look over and see you cringing or laughing, depending on what exactly I'm saying. And part of that is the development of their faith expressed through the questions that are asked is really, really obvious. And it reminds me that we sometimes think that our children and youth are not as capable of deep theological thinking as they actually are. And if you ever question that, just listen to the question and answer period with the bishop. They are capable of deep theological questions. The same type of questions our adults ask. A lot of questions about the love of God and the evil we see in the world, or do you have to believe in a certain way to be saved? Or what does salvation mean in the first place? And how do we understand sexuality, or how do we understand racism? Or do we really think Jesus rose from the dead? I mean, we get questions like that, but adults think the same thing. And we need to take those very seriously and answer those questions. And so I love that part of camp. Just love it.
And we love it too, because it's always fun. But it also, I think it touches people deeply, even as they look back on it, maybe not at the moment, but even later they go, wow, Those were some pretty incredible questions and answers, and
Right.
time together, and time with you, which I think is one of the
Yeah.
wonderful things out here.
Thank you.
So our third question is just anything that you would like to tell us, really not a question. Invite you to anything you'd like to tell us about camp this summer, your thoughts, as well as camp in the future, or any other story you'd like to tell. Share with us what your thoughts are.
Sure. So making the decision to not have our youth sessions and adult sessions this summer was a very painful decision, just because camp is so important in the life of this diocese. And I was just reading in the paper yesterday about camps throughout the country where they stayed open and they've had cases of COVID run through the camp. So first, I want to say that I really believe we did the right thing. And second, I want to say that's because what drives us always is how do we embody Jesus' command to love, and how do we live that out in community. And that's what we try to do at Camp Cross is embody the inclusive love of God in community. And so sometimes that means we have to say, don't come. Hopefully that never happens again. But I think what's important to remember is that even though we're not having camp sessions, we're doing transformative work at camp. And so this summer, there's always a silver lining to a dark cloud. There's always a way to make fabulous lemonade from lemons. There's always something you can do, and we're doing that. And the transformation of some of the property is for the purpose of helping transform lives, because we believe that transformed lives of people following Jesus Christ, that's what will transform this world. And certainly we know this world needs more and more transformation into the dream that God intends for us in the first place. And camp is an essential part of that. So I look forward to next summer when we're fully back, but I also know that this summer is not a wasted summer. The summer is a chance for us to reconnect to that deep desire to be at camp, to support the work that's happening at camp, and to pray for people that they're experiencing that inclusive love of God in community, even if they can't be at Camp Cross this summer. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. Any other thoughts about the future of camp, or comments about a campaign or anything like that?
Sure. So my dream, of course, is that camp be there forever. And I realize I've been watching some shows on TV about geological time, so I realize forever is relative, but forever, right? In terms of this sacred place where we can do sacred ministry. And so what we're trying to do is make sure that we build and strengthen and support the work of forming disciples of Jesus Christ and helping people experience that love of God in community at Camp Cross, and do facilities work to increase our capacity for adults to come, because being formed in the inclusive love of God is not just for children. It's a lifelong process. And having additional support for that, for adult cabins, having a small retreat center to expand our offerings, making sure that our facilities are kept up, and then having endowments to make sure that we don't have to keep coming back to the diocese every 10 years and asking for money, because we've taken care of it now so that forever it's taken care of. That's the goal, that's the dream. But the dream is really in service to the greater dream, the dream of God, the dream of a life lived in love, lived in charity with our neighbor, lived in full communion with one another and with God. That's the dream that we're striving for. It's not just about building pretty buildings on Lake Coeur d'Alene. It's about helping people really become disciples of Jesus Christ and helping this world be transformed, because that's what it's about.
Thank you so much, Bishop Gretchen, and for this time today, and for all your love and support of all the people in the Diocese of Spokane and elsewhere, and for your support of Camp Cross. We give thanks for this conversation today. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's been a joy.